get a feeling there's going to be a riot.
I don't read the newspapers because they all have ugly print.
At the starting of the week, at Sunday talks, you'll hear them speak. It's only Monday. Negotiations breaking down. See the leaders got the frown. It's more than Monday.
We are back with another edition of your favorite morning show, The Daily Dose on the Gorilla Radio Network.
You'll be sitting, taking lunch. The news will hit you like a punch. It's only Tuesday.
But Simon,
Ask your doctor if the Daily Dose is right for you. Common side effects include sarcasm, informed opinions, and wondering how the hell these people got elected. The Daily Dose starts now.
but Simon,
Tomorrow never comes until it's too late. Tomorrow never comes until it's
Hello, everyone. Hello. We are back. It is the Tuesday edition of the Daily Dose. Today's date is July 21st, 2026. Yesterday was Monday, so I'm assuming that everyone got off to a good start to their work week. Everyone enjoyed their first day back to work, back in the office, typing furiously on your keyboards, possibly taking down notes and memos, or doing whatever it is you do in your work setting that you do for a living that brings you the money to pay your bills. I know I was off yesterday personally. It was nice. I had a nice steak dinner last night. Finally got to celebrate my birthday with my wife last night. We went to the Longhorn Steakhouse. And I got to tell you, they do a really, really good job. They put a good steak down in front of you for a chain style restaurant. They do a really good job. They've got a good drink menu. They've got the wine list kind of sucks, but there's a couple that you can fish out of there and find a little bit of a good glass if you want a glass of wine with your steak. But I got to tell you, the steak they put down in front of you is, I mean, I would put that up against any of these major steakhouses that we have in the area. They do a phenomenal job. The food is great. Temperature was cooked perfect. Nothing to complain about whatsoever. So yeah, it was a good birthday dinner last night. I finally got to go out and do it and relax a little bit. And then today it's Tuesday. I was looking forward to getting this show going, and then I'm back to work again today. So that's what's going on in my world. Got a pretty good show for you today. We've got a little bit of news, as we always do on the Daily Dose. We're talking about tariffs. We're talking about lettuce. We're talking about Big Bertha. Oh, Big Bertha. And then we're talking about a couple different stories where some kids got killed by some drivers that were driving in excessive speeds down the highway in our Dead as Fuck segment that we like to cover every now and again. Then, of course, yesterday I talked about, I was going to talk about this high-speed chase, but I ran long and I did not get a chance to do it. So if I have time today, I'll talk about it. It's a crazy video. It's just the driver in this high-speed chase is incredible, how he just gets away from the police. They pit him a couple times and he just spins out and you think they finally got him and he just takes off. So if I've got time today, it's a short one. We'll talk about that. Weather today, we're going to start with that as we always do. We're broadcasting out of Palm Harbor, Florida. And I always do like to say, no matter where you're listening to this, this may or may not apply to your demographic where you live or your area where you habit. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. Here you go.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay. We're waking up with most of us sitting well into the 80-degree reading, even some upper 80s closer to the beaches. Most of that rain from Bertha is still going to stay well offshore. Now, a couple of those isolated bands could clip us, but it's going to be borderline. Most of us get to about the low 90s at lunchtime. You'll feel closer to the triple digits. And if you end up drier, you could see temperatures get even warmer than that. Of course, it really just depends on where that line starts to set back up. I do think most of those rain chances are going to start to fade even by about 6:30. So just just know rain chances are finally going to back off a bit, and we will see more sunshine as we get later into the week. Now, the full 7-day forecast does show that temperatures are going to gradually warm back into the low to mid 90s. We're going to feel that warmth, especially closer to the weekend, with a typical summertime pattern starting to flip back as we get into Saturday and Sunday, with a better chance for rain looking as we get into next week.
There you have it, everybody. That's your Tampa Bay forecast with the weather. So with that being said, it's still going to be hot, still going to be humid. Man, it rained yesterday like crazy. And when the rain was coming down, it was actually rather comfortable outside. But the second that rain stopped, man, did that humidity just start just like a cloud or like a wet sponge. It's terrible when we have the rain in Florida. It's nice when it's going on, but as soon as the rain ends, forget about it. It's game over, man. It's just like walking through a wet sponge. Disgusting. But anyway, nonetheless, that's our Tampa Bay weather forecast. And now we're going to talk about you know what? Why not just start off with, let's just do it. Why not? Let's start with a little Donnie T news.
Welcome to the shit show. Every single day, a new flavor of fuckery, 'cause everybody's such.
Welcome to What It Do with Donnie T, where the nation pauses to see if anything got done today, or if the presidency is just a full-time job posting on Truth Social all day and all night once again. Let's check it out and see.
So apparently now, if going to war with Iran isn't enough, you know what I mean, and whatever the hell it is we're doing over there for whatever God knows reason, now we're going to war with Canada. You know what I mean? They're a little bit too close. You know what I mean? They're close in proximity. I wouldn't want to go and take on Canada or Mexico. Not that they have any type of a military that could outdo ours, obviously, but still though, they're Canada, for God's sake. They make the best whiskey in the world. So and that's gonna get a tariff here soon. We're not necessarily going to a physical war with them, but we're going to a financial war with them, and it's about to begin.
A senior administration official says the United States will put in place a 50% tariff, or tariffs plural, on 3 sets of Canadian imports, and those categories are cars, dairy, and alcohol. NBC's Monica Alba is at the White House. Monica, any read on why the Trump administration is imposing these tariffs? Does it all have to do with the wildfires that Canada is struggling to get under control?
These specific ones that you just mentioned, Tom, are not actually related to the wildfires and the controversy of that air, of course, that came over much of the United States and still is in some parts. President Trump obviously expressed his displeasure with that and said that it was possible that they were going to review and consider additional tariffs on Canada as a result of that. But senior administration officials were asked today if these new tariffs that they are unrolling, these new proclamations, are as a result of that, and they said no, but that the president is still considering additional actions. Typically, when you have something like this, these specific tariffs that you just talked about on vehicles, dairy, and alcohol, this would have had to have been in the works for some time, predating the wildfires. We know that the trade relationship has been a bit rocky with Canada, and so they were looking at all of those different things. But what's interesting, Tom, is that yesterday President Trump was actually with Prime Minister Mark Carney at the World Cup final, since Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. were co-hosts of the 6-week tournament. And so we knew, because reporters asked him last night if the president had talked to Prime Minister Carney about that specifically and whether additional action would be expected. And then they did unroll these today. But again, these are separate from the wildfire impact specifically, Tom.
Well, nonetheless.
There you go, everybody. So if you're a big fan of Crown Royal, which I know I am, although I don't know if I said on the show before, I'm not allowed to drink it anymore because it makes me an angry person, apparently, or my wife likes to tell me that. I don't really remember, what I did or what I said when I drink the Crown Royal to excess. But I do know that the next day, there's usually some sort of a discussion about the night before. So I'm not allowed to drink any type of brown liquors any longer. Every now and again, I can have an old fashioned when we go out to dinner, but I mean, we rarely go out to dinner. So, in those rare occasions that I do find an old fashioned on the menu that looks like I would enjoy, maybe a smoky old fashioned or something made with a decent Buffalo Trace style bourbon. I will take advantage of that every once in a while, but I'm not allowed to have a bottle of whiskey or bourbon in the house because apparently it just makes me angry. But if you can, and you are allowed to have Crown Royal in your house, unlike myself, then I would suggest you go and buy it immediately, because pretty soon that $32 bottle of Crown Royal is going to run you roughly $45. So with 50% tariff, yeah, that's pretty wild. I don't understand what cars come out of Canada though. I know they have manufacturing plants in Canada, but they don't create their own vehicles. So I've got to do a little research into that and figure out what that's all about. And maybe we'll touch on that in another show, or maybe I'm just ignorant to what it is that they're speaking about. But I don't think that Canada has a major car market. But again, I'll look into that and do my own research. Lettuce. You guys like salads? I enjoyed a nice salad last night for dinner. Chopped iceberg lettuce, mixed spring mix or field greens, or maybe some people call it mesclun mix, red leaf, arugula, radicchio, and endive lettuce mixed with the iceberg lettuce, topped with house-made croutons, and a delicious blue cheese dressing to go with. That was my salad that I enjoyed last evening prior to my steak arriving at my table. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they did not buy pre-cut lettuce for these salads, and I've been monitoring my bowel movements all morning, and so far, I do not have any explosive diarrhea as of yet. So I'm assuming that they did not buy Taylor Farms pre-cut lettuce.
Concerning development in the parasitic outbreak that has sickened more than 1,600 people in 5 states. The Food and Drug Administration now says a sample of shredded iceberg lettuce supplied by Taylor Farms has tested positive for cyclosporiasis, that parasite, and that the sample was not part of the current recall. Now, the FDA says Taylor Farms is currently working to identify whether any part of this is implicated, any part of this implicated lot is available in commerce or consumers' homes. The current recall includes the Market Side brand iceberg salad and shredded lettuce available at Walmart. The FDA says that the shredded lettuce was also served at some Taco Bell locations. Both Walmart and Taco Bell say they've removed the lettuce since this has now been come to light. So
there you go. So you don't have to worry about it any longer. Apparently, the recall is out, and all the suppliers, the major suppliers, know about it, and they're pulling the product from the shelves. But 1,600 people across the country, explosive diarrhea. 1,600 people, explosive diarrhea. That's a big crock of shit. You ask me. Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild. You know what I mean? Thankfully, no one I know has been affected by this. I don't even know how to pronounce that word, outbreak. But yeah, I know with what I do for a living, we purchase our groceries and our food from U.S. Foods, a major supplier. They're nationwide. They're big like Cisco. And they sent out a big memo about all the products that we are not allowed to buy because they've been recalled. And it's 3 pages. That's what you're not hearing on the news. It's not just shredded iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farms. I've got a 3-page memo from top to bottom of all these individual items that you are not allowed to purchase because they've been called or they've been pulled from the shelves due to the recall that's causing the explosive diarrhea. So you heard it here first, folks, on the Gorilla Radio Network, your daily dose. I personally am not going to provide you at my fine eating establishment with lettuce that's going to cause explosive diarrhea. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't have the ability to because all the product has been pulled from the shelves. And like I said earlier, I've been monitoring my bowel movements closely this morning, and I'm proud to report that I have 0 evidence of explosive diarrhea coming out of my asshole today. So that's always a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, always a good thing. Bertha, big old Bertha. She's coming. She's coming for you, New Orleans. She's coming for you, Texas. Big Bertha. With a name like Bertha, you would expect that storm to, I visualize the person that the storm shares the name with every time I see a storm that's coming through. Like Hurricane Andrew came through. Didn't think it was going to be that disastrous. I've never met a terrifying Andrew, except for Andrew Tate that we talked about yesterday, and he's not terrifying. He's just a piece of shit dirtbag. So, that's the only Andrew I can think of that would be somewhat of an intimidation factor just because of his dumbass persona. But, Charlie, that one came through. It ripped everything to shreds. Charlie did. You know what I mean? Charlie's not an intimidating name. Andrew's not an intimidating name. Helene is not an intimidating name. You know what is an intimidating name? Bertha. Big Bertha. I picture Bertha to be a 320-pound woman, very rotund, very large in stature, wearing some sort of a babushka on her head, holding a hammer for some reason. I don't know why I get that image in my head of Bertha with a babushka on her head, holding a hammer. I do understand why I would imagine her to be 300 plus pounds and large in stature, but for some reason, every time I picture Bertha, she's holding a hammer and she's wearing a babushka. And now she's bringing that hammer to the Gulf Coast.
This morning, millions along the Gulf Coast bracing for Tropical Storm Bertha, which could unleash flash flooding and life-threatening storm surge.
Don't discount the storm until the threat is past. We never turn our back on a system in the Gulf.
The system is pushing west from the Florida Panhandle and is expected to make landfall in southeast Louisiana tomorrow. Areas around New Orleans could see up to 8 inches of rain and as much as 4 feet of storm surge. Officials throughout the region are urging people to stay out of the water, as the storm could produce high surf and dangerous rip currents. As Bertha threatens the Gulf Coast, other parts of the country are reeling from deadly flooding. In Wayne County, Utah, 5 family members were killed during a camping trip after being swept away by flash flooding.
This family was 1 in a million.
The victims included a captain in the Provo Fire Department, his wife, and their 3 sons. A daughter who was not on the trip survived.
God, that's terrible. The whole goddamn family got killed by a flash flood. And I'll tell you, flash floods are nothing to fuck around with. You know what I mean? They're literally exactly what they sound like. Flash flood. You're sitting there, you're relaxing, you're cooking over the campfire. Next thing you know, there's just a tidal wave of mud and water and debris just washes you away. It's incredible. So that's a horrible story. All those people died from a flash flood. But yeah, now and all that water that you saw rushing through the streets and through the town from Bertha, she passed gas. And it blew all the water towards everything in the area. Yeah, that's Bertha. When she farts with the vengeance, with the fury, some might say. It's true. It's true. Well, that's our intro to this next segment. We've got a couple of stories. They're horrible stories, actually. They're absolutely horrible stories. But they happened. They happened. First story I'm going to talk about, a youth pastor. Apparently he was in a hurry. God told him to step on the gas. God spoke to the youth pastor and said, "You know what, buddy? Step on the gas real quick. I know you've had a couple glasses of wine. I turned the water into wine this morning. And I asked you to be the sommelier of my winery after I took the water and converted it. So I know you had a couple glasses of wine, but what I need you to do is I need you to get your kids in the car immediately, and I need you to drive as fast as you can and do your best not to kill anybody, including your kids."
A South Florida youth pastor is behind bars, charged in connection to a crash that killed his 8-year-old daughter. According to an arrest report, the crash happened back in January when 38-year-old Joel Linez, he was driving his 3 children home from a church concert in West Palm Beach. Authorities say Linez's blood alcohol level, it was at 0.83. That is over Florida's legal limit at 0.08. They also say he was driving over 100 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone. According to the report, he said the crash happened after he swerved to avoid hitting another car, and then he lost control. Investigators say his car hit a pole and caught fire. Linez is facing charges of vehicular homicide and DUI manslaughter.
Wow, he seems like a real stand-up individual. I know when, if I had a bunch of kids, I'd want to send them to his camp where he's the youth pastor. make sure that he teaches them morals and teaches them the right way to live their lives by the word of God. You know, because apparently he practices that every day. Again, another scumbag. You know what I mean? Just it's amazing. So now I've got another story about a deadly crash, and this involves a Tesla, and it was not self-driving. It was being controlled by the person that either owns the Tesla or leases it, makes monthly payments on it, but nonetheless, it was this person's Tesla, and he was driving it, and it wasn't driving itself.
An update now on a deadly crash that killed a mother and daughter. A San Jose man is now charged with 2 counts of murder. The crash happened in December on Highway 87. Investigators say Zachary Chernicki was driving his Tesla more than 140 miles an hour when he collided with several other cars, killing Ivana Balestreri and her 23-month-old daughter. The CHP says the 31-year-old man was arrested on Monday.
I've seen some coverage of this incident that says things like Tesla crash kills a family, but that headline really misses the point. The Tesla didn't cause this crash, Chernicki did, by driving over 140 miles per hour. That kind of speed, it's not an accident. This was not some unforeseen tragedy. This is what happens when you drive that fast on our roads.
Chernicki's next court date is set for August 24th. Tonight we're hearing.
Yeah, it's 140 miles an hour. That's pretty goddamn fast. You know what I mean? That's really getting there. You know, that's a high rate of speed. So yeah, he killed the mother, he killed the kid. And the video footage of that is insane because you just see flames coming up. You know, the vehicle's just exploded on impact. Apparently. Horrible situation. So hopefully they throw the book at this scumbag and he goes to jail or prison for a long time, and they charge him with everything the law would allow, because it's horrible. But now I got a question for you guys also. You know, when you're driving, and I talked about this on the other show once before, I discussed this with Mike and Angel on the live show. When you're driving down the road and, you know, you're doing, you know, the speed limit's 55, whatever, you know, I usually go, 55, 60. I don't really, I used to drive a little bit more quickly than I do now, but as my old age continues to progress, my driving has continued to steadily slow down. And, so I'm doing the speed limit, 50, 55, 60, whatever it is down the highway. And then I see these idiots coming up behind me. And, I'm going faster than the other cars on the road. The other cars are slower than me, and, I'm in the passing lane and I'm passing vehicles, and I see these fucking idiots coming up from behind me at this crazy high rate of speed. I don't know if they're doing 140, but I mean, they're probably doing close to 85, 90, 95 miles an hour. And then you see them swerve all over the road, like they have to change lanes abruptly because they're going to smash into the car. Then they got to change lanes again. They're weaving, they're ducking, they're bobbing, you know what I mean? All over the road. Excuse me. And then, you just see them go off and, in front of you, and you see the taillights get farther and farther away as they continue to move. Does anyone besides me wish that they could see that car lose control, crash into a wall, burst into flames, and just kill the driver that's in the vehicle? Does anyone besides me wish that? I want to see that happen one of these days, and I'm just going to drive by and laugh when I see that car burning. I'm just going to drive by and laugh and turn down the music so I can hear the cracklings. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what goes on in my head when I see these stupid kids on these motorcycles that go flying by. They're riding their bikes, and sometimes there's 2 people on the bike. And there's they call that a one-up in the motorcycle community. One driver, one person up behind the other one, behind the driver. And I see them flying down the roads, or they come up behind you and they, they're doing wheelies and shit. And, they're just being completely irresponsible and they're endangering the lives of everyone that's on the roadway. I want to see that goddamn motorcycle just crash into a wall and just explode on impact. I do. I really want to see that. Am I the only one that feels that way? I think I might be. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of sick, I guess. High-speed chase. High-speed chase. I told you I was going to talk about it today. I made sure that I left myself enough time to get into this. This high-speed chase is absolutely incredible to watch. This guy that's in this vehicle is either a really good driver or he's a very lucky son of a bitch. That's where they get him right towards the end. But I mean, he escaped those two crashes or those two pit moves from that officer like he was a professional race car driver. I'm guessing, and I'm just taking a stab at this. There's no verifiable evidence to support this claim that I'm about to make, but I'm pretty sure that Jesus was his co-pilot. Oh, that's all I got for you guys today. It is, like I said, Tuesday, July 21st. And this is your daily dose on the Guerrilla Radio Network. We're going to sign off for the day. We're going to get ready to go to work. Hopefully you're doing the same in your homes right now, drinking your coffee. By the way, let me take a sip of my coffee, straight black. Oh, man, it doesn't get any better than that. Follow us on all social media outlets, Guerrilla Radio Network on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram at Guerrilla Radio 47, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at OG Guerrilla Radio. You can also stream us on any of your favorite streaming platforms, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, any of that shit, anytime you want. You may see a couple of commercials, though, if you stream us there, but that's okay, because you might be sparked. Your curiosity might be sparked about what they have to offer to sell, and you may be so inclined to click on the link and do an impulse buy. This has been a great show today. Guerrilla Radio Network, your daily dose. My name is Eric. I'm your host. I will see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning will be a short show. I do have to work early, but I will squeeze a 10 or 15-minute show in for your listening and viewing pleasure. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.